Nothing. So yeah, just figure out what you're gonna do, and please share with us here in Discord. I'm here all the time. I want to help you guys out. I want this to be like the lab time, but a lot of you are not taking advantage of that, and so I'm not able to give you any feedback on anything, which is basically what you're paying me for here. Right? Like this is why I'm here in the class to help you all, but I can't help you if you're not showing me anything. So you got to show me some like serious work. It could be Sally. So if say like I was telling Wacom an off topic, yeah, all the lectures are on that Google Doc, right? So right here, is that your question, Nasser? Um, but Sally, so I was telling Wacom here, he posted this video of this spaceship, and then there's some characters, and I said you could make the spaceship for the midterm, right? And then you just fly around space. And then for the final, you could show us the inside of the spaceship. So you could totally combine and use those assets, right? So in your world, Sally, um, if you wanted to do something like this for the midterm and just show us the world, that's great. And then for the final, maybe something's happening in this village, right? And you have little characters doing things, and you want to show us that. So you could totally do that. Right? It's up to you. Um, yeah, if that makes sense. Okay, Nasser, I don't understand your question. It's on Blackboard. If I want, come back on a reference. Not sure what you mean. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. Cool. So let's see. What are we doing today? Okay. So that's just a little quick talk about last week's reading. Did you all watch any of those David O'Reilly animations? Did you guys watch a few of them? Wow. I don't know. There were some good ones. External World, I think, is my favorite one. But that everything video game is cool. So hopefully you enjoyed them. Oh, cool, nice. I think also Sally, it's a good artist for you to look at, right? Because it's kind of similar to what you're doing, right? He's got some similar um, aesthetics going on. I think that's cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed him. And that's a animator who just a lot of times works alone. He does film festivals, um, right? So if you get really good at animation, this is something that you think you want to do professionally or even like on the side. You can make animations and you apply them to film festivals. So like I don't know, I had one once in Rotterdam. You send your animation to these places, right? You pay like I don't know, $20, or they invite you. They invited me to apply. You apply and they accept it, and then they have in the whole city they're just playing animation and film shorts and independent movies for like a week long, and people go and buy tickets and check it out. Um, uh, almost every town. Yeah, well, this is like a big problem right now. Um, I think this is one of the ones he won. But you can look at a lot of those, and he says which ones won awards and stuff like that. And that's how you can often make money. People will buy it to be part of like a series of shorts. Independent theaters will buy the animations to screen. And then sometimes you can make money doing talks. And in David O'Reilly's case, also he then got like well known and got deals to make video games and stuff like that. Cool. So it's just interesting to check that stuff out. The artist we're going to look at today is Jess Johnson, who I think will really help you as you're kind of building out these labyrinth worlds. She is like a labyrinth master. So her style, she really likes kind of like a sci-fi look, like kind of like an older like sci-fi book cover type of look. And she actually does a lot of like pen and ink marker. These are actually all marker. Marker and ink. Yeah. a little bit of acrylic paint on paper. So she's a drawer. She draws obsessively these really beautiful labyrinths. And then she works with an animator named Simon Ward, who kind of brings her drawings to life in virtual reality and animation. I have a question. Can you guys hear this? Because we're doing sound on Thursday. I don't know what to do. Can anyone hear the video? There's music. Can we hear that music? No? Shit. I don't know what we're gonna do. Alright, I gotta figure out something. So this sound does not play, even though I'm doing screen capture. I wonder if there's like a way. Alright, I don't know what I'm gonna do next week. Maybe I'll just unplug my headphones. We'll just have to hear it. Okay, anyway. So I guess we can't really watch this, but there's some like ambient electric music in the background. As you can see, it's really cool seeing her marker drawings, marker kind of come to life in 3D. My favorite thing she did is this project called Terminus, which was a giant virtual reality exhibition in Australia. She's from New Zealand. That, you know, this is real life. So she took her drawings, made this like wallpaper floor installation, and then has this virtual reality headsets that you could come and visit these different, she calls them realms, and we can see a little bit in the inside, right? Very cool. So you'll notice that she really developed this super unique style that's also super consistent because she already had that style developed in the drawings. Drawings are a really great way to help you kind of like develop a style that you're going to use. And then they used her drawings for the textures, right? So you can see that these 3D objects and meshes have drawings as the texture, and that really helps give it a very consistent style. Right, so we're gonna get to figures as soon as we're done with the midterm. But I'd say unless you like are really chomping at the bit to do figures, I would wait, and right now just kind of concentrate on atmosphere, on architecture, on creating an environment, and then we'll get to figures. Hopefully, looking at some of this could really give you some inspiration. This is like exactly what I'm thinking for the midterm, that you just build this environment and take us around it to look at it, right? And just be like, look at this cool thing, look at this horse, look at this building I made, right? And you're just kind of showing us. And we're going to talk today about ways to do that in a clean way, right? Not so we're not just flying all over. Very cool. So if you guys like her, she has an Instagram. I'd recommend following it. She makes her living off art, and she sells a lot of stuff on through her Instagram. So like she's very shy, and she was telling me like I really want to get rid of my Instagram, but this is kind of how I make my living. You know, she has quite a bit of followers, and she has this store where she sells like prints, right, totes, T-shirts, stuff like that. And I think she does all right doing that. So just to give you an idea about different things you can do. That's cool. That's a cool T-shirt. Right. Cool. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can't click on any of these. I don't have Instagram. Cool. But yeah, check her out. I think it could be a really good if you're having trouble thinking of what to do next for your midterm, just check some of these out, and maybe it'll give you some ideas. It'd be nice to go deep, right? The software really enables you to kind of create a world and really zoom all around it, right? And that's kind of what I'm going to show you all today too. Cool. So please, check out this artist. Give her a follow. It's nice to follow a bunch of new media artists on Instagram, right? If that's your major is new media, it's good to kind of get a whole like collection of people that you find inspiring, right? And then they'll come up on your feed, every week or so, and you can see what they're up to, what their lives are like, how they got to doing what they're doing, and also be inspired by what they're doing. And if you really like it, you can always try to emulate it. Okay, cool. So that just gives you an artist to look at for today. So today what we're going to talk about is working with multiple cameras. So let's see if I can show you an example in this first. Some other stuff. Okay. So you'll notice like they create a world here, and then take you around the world. So, right? See that camera cut? You guys notice that? This is what I'm talking about. See how that one faded? Now fade to this. See that? Cut. Now it's just kind of nicely panning. Cut to the next scene. Cut to the next. Cut. Right? Cut. And now see how the camera is just kind of zooming in slowly? Now it's zooming in a little faster. Now it's kind of rotating. Now it's kind of panning to the left, zooming in. So this is how you're going to show us your labyrinth. Does that make sense? Did you all see that? I'm going to show you in Blender, but it makes sense? Yeah? Okay. So that's kind of how you're going to show us your world. It's like, I don't know, like imagine you're like almost like an architecture firm and you built out a imaginary world and you're showing the client like, look at this world that I built for you and we're going to create it in real life, and you're just kind of like zooming around the world showing us. Okay. So certainly Jess Johnson does that. We'll look at some other artists who do it, but I'll show you what I have today. Let's see. So I just really quickly before class I took some stuff I was working on and just did a little camera setup, right? So we start with this building, I'll show you another one. Now I zoom out, and oh my god, those little buildings are in a bigger building, right? And then I zoom out even more, and that other building is on an even bigger building, right? And then I zoom in, and oh my god, there's some weird little machine at the door of that building, right? So that's kind of what I'm going to show you all today. So like looking at what you guys have, what I've seen so far, so like Sally's world, you'd be like, oh, here's this little moat, and then cut, and then now you're in the middle, and now we're on an island on a moat, and there's something going on there. Now zoom out, and we can see the whole world. Zoom in into a hut. What's inside the hut? Do you know what I mean? And same thing, Wacom, with what you're doing. Do a long shot. We can see the whole complex. What's going on in this green one? Maybe like a zoom down the hallway. What I don't have to show you guys is what's incorrect. What's incorrect is this. I guess I can try to show you. Let's see. So pretend like this is the camera. What I don't want to see is like really quick movements, right? Where it kind of looks like the camera's a football that you like tossed across the room and like stuff's happening really quickly, right? Just very slow and subtle. See how the camera's barely moving? Now it's going a little faster, but it's going straight, right? Also, it's cutting a lot. You don't have to cut this much. This is a trailer, so you kind of want to like keep an attention span. It's going pretty quick. You don't have to cut this much. You can make a little bit of a slower movement, but just to give you kind of an idea. Okay. So, any questions before I kind of show you? Well, I'll jump in and show you how to do this. So basically, it's not anything super complicated. It's just working with multiple cameras. You'll see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, right? And if you're working at home, not on Blender, you would just do multiple setups, right? So you would set up and do one stop motion thing, and then maybe like go to another stage, and then you have another stop motion thing. You're doing a really similar process, right? And you're still using that kind of consistent style, right? Okay. So I guess, let's see. I'm gonna just kind of, what do I have open? I just kind of chose some random projects I was working on, and pasted them in here. So you can also work on multiple Blender files. So I'll show you my setup. So I have here, I have a folder just called buildings. Right? So I was working on all these buildings for this project I'm working on right now. And you can have a bunch of blenders open at once, right? So, so Sally, for example, on your world, maybe you have a whole separate Blender file called like huts, and you're just working on the huts there, and you can copy paste them into a central kind of file, right? So then this one is called quick camera demo, right? So let's see, I guess I'll delete everything. Actually, I'll just start a new one. So I can close this. I'm going to open up a whole separate Blender. And we'll start totally fresh. Alright, so if you want, you can do everything in one, but I think sometimes it becomes a little easier and cleaner. Personally, that's how I do it, is working on multiple Blender files and joining them all into one, especially when you're working on like little things like buildings. But okay, so let's say I have this little machine I was working on, because those buildings don't have animation. So it's nice to have like, so your world kind of feels alive. It's nice to have animation somewhere, right? So like something that's going on, like maybe the trees are blowing in the wind, or the water's rippling. What's some easier things? Well, this is kind of easy, right? So things are rotating and gears and stuff like that are happening. Maybe you have like a really simple little character, a flag. There's a lot of tutorials on flags. Right, pretty easy. It's with cloth. We've already learned cloth, so that could be an option if you want to do that. We learned a little bit about particles. You could have some particle simulations. So like maybe there's like a waterfall with particles coming down. Yeah, any number of things. I can help you brainstorm too for your particular project. But okay, so let's say I made this somewhere else. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it. Okay? And I'll call this collection machine. Okay? Alright, so let's say like this is my labyrinth. Yours would be probably a little cooler than this, but just for the sake of teaching you about cameras, I'll just show you like some different angles on this. Alright, so I'm going to set myself up for animation. Call this machine. So already I have this animated. Does it loop? So it loops at 200. Let's see. Yep, okay. So I have this all animated. It's 200 frames long. But let's say I want mine to be like around 1,000 frames for my whole project. Zooming out. Let me turn that thing on. Okay. So if you did animate something and you make it loop, because we learned how to loop already, right? The first frame is the last frame. So all my first keyframes on this animation are also the last one. So I can then just take this and Shift D and just copy paste it. There's more elegant ways of doing this, but for the sake of a midterm, I think that this is fine. And so now it should just loop a little longer for the duration of the thing. Right. Oops, so it clipped a little bit. I would probably need to go in there, figure out what's going on. Let's see. Oh, I see. Rotation is tricky. So this is not the best way to do this one. But, alright, just for the sake of this, I'm going to have that nasty loop. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into... It's okay. Alright. Okay, let's put this on a floor. And we're not going to bother with texturing or anything. Okay. So I'm going to make my first camera. Hit 0 on the number pad to go into it. And view, lock camera to view. So let's say my first shot, I just want to get this machine so we can see the whole thing. Right? So maybe something like that. Let's see, then for my key set, location rotation. So I'm gonna, my camera is selected. Hit I, and then let's say just for like 3 seconds, we're just gonna kind of like pan around this thing till like frame 90, something. It's not nothing specific, but so we'll go like that. So just have like a nice little pan. Right. Okay, and then let's say after that pan, roughly, we want to zoom in and really show like these 2 gears right here. Okay. So to do that, the best way is to make a new camera. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this camera. Okay, so there's that camera, and you can see it being animated. Okay, so maybe right around here, I'm going to do Shift A and make a new camera. And I want to looking at these gears here roughly. RZ, so somewhere kind of around there. Now I need to get into that camera, and I can't. I hit 0 and I go into my old one. Okay? So here's how you do that. Okay, so marker. So I'm going to select my first camera, go to frame 0 on the timeline, and down here in this timeline, we have the dope sheet up here and the timeline down here. In this timeline, I'm going to say marker, bind camera to markers. And when I do that, you'll notice in my timeline, this little camera came up, showing us now we're using that camera. But let's say at about frame 120, we want to use this camera. So I'm going to select camera 2, marker, bind camera to markers. And now, if I hit 0 on the number pad, once we hit that frame, we zoom into that. And now I can adjust this one too. So let's say we want to show these gears here. Okay, and so now we have zoop, hold for a little bit and zoom in and show those. Okay. Okay, now you see my shitty loop, so let's get rid of that. Let's see. So maybe before that starts, we want to leave. So now I'll get out and we'll do the same thing again. I'll make another camera. And let's say we want to see this disk or something. Maybe right around here, 188, marker, bind camera to markers. Now I go into that section, and now I can adjust this camera. I want to see, like, I don't know, that or something. Okay. Got it? So that's it. That's really like the big thing I wanted to show you all today. The important thing to not do is, let's see. So I'm gonna make a do not do camera. Let's see. So I'll do this guy at like frame 300. Maybe like that. And I'll call this no. Marker, bind camera to marker. And so under no, let's see, I'll set a keyframe. And I'll go here, and then I'll go like this. And then I'll go here, and I'll go like this. And I'll go here, and I'll go like this. Okay, and now watching this will make me want to throw up, right? Don't do this. That's too fast. It's all over the place, but that's all right there. Actually, that was okay. It was a slow pan, but that is way too fast, right? And you almost get dizzy watching it. You go back and forth. Please, please avoid that. And I'm just saying that because I've done this a lot so far. I've taught this a lot, and this is a very common thing students do. Please make your camera transitions nice and fluid. Right? We all watch TV and movies. You know what a good camera is because you don't even notice it, right? You never even think about it. But now, hopefully, watching animation and movies and TV shows, pay attention to what the cameras are doing, right? Especially in animation, because the animation you can get a little crazier, right? When you watch TV, a lot of times they just have two cameras on a tripod, and they have like a very deliberate setup. But animation's a little more exciting because you can do anything. One other thing to note, let's see, I just want to really quickly mention about clipping. Let me add that to the notes today, actually. So if this happens, let's see. Yeah, I think this is actually a better one to demo this one. Look at that. You see how everything goes away? Right? See how that starts to happen? That's called clipping. So that is a super easy fix. So I notice I'm at frame 0. So I'm in my first camera. Okay, so that camera. So I just select it, look in camera, and we see this clip start, clip end. So the clip end is only 1,000 meters. So I just need to extend that. Make it. I don't know why Blender even bothers to do this. To be honest, I've never learned why they bother to make a limit for how far your camera could see. That doesn't really serve any purpose that I know of. But it's there, and you just need to adjust it. And now I can see as close as I want and as far as I want. Right? But still, now I'm zooming way out. So if any of you are making really big worlds, make sure you really extend that clipping to be a big number. Yeah, there's 100,000. I think you could go like 1,000,000. It doesn't matter, right? So that's it, right? So camera settings, clip start, clip end. So I'll just write that down. So please know about that. Okay. So that's really it. I don't want to do much more because I want to give you all a lot of time to really get going on modeling and building out your world. This should be super fun. You should really be having fun with it, making cool models. Find some cool tutorials. Ultimately, it does no good for me to just like go through a million different tutorials. I'm trying to just really cover some basic things with you all, and then you can get into the details by just searching around and finding that very specific thing that you want to do, and read about that and learn about that. There's so much out there. So what you're working on today is building out your world, building out your style, right? Figuring out how you want this world to look. So Sally's getting pretty close to developing a look. It looks like you just need to find a way to make those huts fit in there a little more. And then start getting some cameras in there. and just really getting some cool angles and showing us what you want us to see, right? And make them human angles, right? Remember, we learned about composition with still lives. You know, something like this would not make sense. Something like this, where it looks like we're looking at this thing on a table, that makes a lot more sense. It's pointing this way to the left, so we nudge it a little to the right, right? If it was just in the center, that would not be as good. So just kind of start thinking about that too. And please, please share your work with us so that I can help you. Remember how these classes work. Is, you know, usually for the first half we talk, and the second half you all work and we give you feedback. But if you're not sharing your work with me, I can't give you any feedback, and it's going to be less strong. Okay, so as much as you can share, share with me. And you don't have to share it publicly if you don't want to. You can send me a direct message, right? So you just click on my name and say, wait, where is it? Why did they move it? Maybe down. Where is it? Oh, well, I can't message myself, obviously. So if I wanted to send Wacom a direct message, I would right click and say message. And you can send me stuff that way too. Okay? Cool. All right. Any questions? Anything else you want me to cover? Anything you're curious about? Anything you want to talk about? Anyone listening? Okay. All right. I'll stop then. So I'll see you Thursday. We'll talk about sound and stuff like that. So please, please share your progress, though. I want to see what you all are working on. Okay, I'm going to stop. Have a good day, guys.